Hola and hello, valuepreneurs. Thank you for joining us. Welcome. I hope you enjoy our lively sales lounge live. And anytime you want to come back and visit us for a sales vitamin of information and inspiration, today we are joined by the always wonderfully insightful Julien Liberty, who is head of clients and markets at Luminous. I don't know anyone who hasn't met or talked with Julien and hasn't felt inspired. So, who better to tackle and expand on the topic, how do humans outdo artificial intelligence in selling? And what can we, valuepreneurs, sellers, bring to the table that machines cannot? So, thank you so much, Julien, for giving us your time. It's great to have you on these virtual sofas of ours. We're not at Cranfield Studios, I'm sorry. But tell us a little bit about you and what you do, please.
So, good morning, everybody. My name's Julien, as was very elegantly explained by Elga. I've spent the most part of my career. Okay, so people are confirming on LinkedIn. There's no echo, so potentially just me. All good. Yes, I've been spending most of my. I guess I had two phases in my career. One as a consulting engineer, and then I switched over to helping organizations and individuals transform their approach to business development and sales. So I've been in the business of sales transformation for the last 12 years. I'm a long-standing fan of customer-centric sales, and I'm obsessed with building trust. And I guess, as you mentioned, because I had big echoes at my end, for the last few years, been extensively involved in trying to find ways of accelerating that change through technology and AI in particular at Luminous. So I'm very happy to be here with you all, keeping an eye on the chat and looking forward to having any questions from the audience. But yes, as always, excited to have yet another conversation with you.
Thank you so much. So let's kick off with an event that you recently been on, and where you talked with business leaders about the impact of AI on leadership and organizations. Can you just share with us some of the highlights of that conference, please?
Yeah, sure. And we don't have a lot of time, so I'll keep to the essence of it. So this was a forum for leaders, closer to you in Lisbon than it is to me in Bordeaux, where, I didn't want to jump on the train of promotion for AI. I think it doesn't need a lot of effort to find plenty of material, information, trying to promote the absolute essential need to be investing in that space. But what I wanted to do is offer to some of those leaders a bit of a moment to stop and think, and a few very high-level considerations to, put the church back in the center of the village, as we like to say in French. So the first aspect was that AI is going to be disrupting everything, right? And I like to pause here because, most people go, yeah, sure, it's disrupting everything but me. So, as, leaders of organization that we are, as consultants, as trainers, we are being disrupted ourselves. And I think the sales profession is definitely being disrupted like everything else. And I guess, for example, if you have a look at Luminous, we are too disrupting the coaching industry. So in that context, it becomes quite critical to understand what are some of the shifts happening and how indeed we might have to adjust. If you're listening to some of the tech experts, I think Jeannie Rometty, who was the CEO of IBM for the largest part of last decade, said that, from her tech perspective, 100% of the jobs would be disrupted. But if you also have a look at, historians and philosophers or anthropologists like Professor Harari, is coining this AI disruption as an anthropological revolution because it's affecting how humans perceive themselves. Especially around knowledge about what it means to be human. If knowing and having access to information is easier than ever, what does it leave to humans? So that's one aspect. The second aspect, I think, is understanding that sales or leaders, because that was the focus of the conference, have been transforming for a very long time. It's not the first revolution. right? The Industrial Revolution changed a lot of things. The Internet revolution changed a lot of things again. And so AI is just another revolution we're going to have to adjust to. And we know how to do that. The interesting question is, what might be some of the signals we should be paying attention to try and adapt faster than others as a way of, differentiating, and as always, either winning market share or taking our products, solution and services to market in the most effective way. Can't hear you. I can't hear you again.
Perfect.
Okay, you're back.
And so, Julien, just to pick up on that last sentence, last thought, very, on practical terms, in which context do you think we're going to be, standing out and bringing to the client's table? What are going to be, or are currently, the new value propositions for sellers and in sales?
Yeah. So I think there's something that we used to bring to the table as, sales professional that is definitely gone in terms of value. Because I think if there's one thing that's going to have to remain for, sales professionals to be able to get time with their prospects and clients is to bring value to the conversation. If you don't bring any value, you can't expect to be, finding time in their agendas. But I think what AI is redefining is what is going to be relevant value. I think knowledge is now such a commodity, and market expectations are shifting fast. I don't know how much people are paying attention to this, but if you take ChatGPT, for example, it only took a couple of months to get to 100 million users globally, right? So the closest thing to it might be, Pokemon Go, if you remember that in 2016, when you had all of the teenagers almost getting run over by buses and trains because they were chasing virtual Pokemons on the streets. Well, ChatGPT is just as viral. We just don't see people on it because it's usually people like, you and I and, professionals doing this from the comfort of their office at home or at work, right? So it's a silent virality if you don't pay attention to the signals. But so I think, to go back to your question, if knowledge is now such a commodity, we're going to have to find ways of differentiating and providing values that goes beyond, simply knowledge. And if we sort of, play rewind a little bit and we can have a look, for example, at the impact that internet had on transactional selling, right? There used to be a time where sales professional and salespeople were, more powerful than their prospects because they had more product information, pre-internet, and that's how they used to, at times manipulate, but other times, drive conversations to a fruitful outcome. So, now industry trends and what's happening, you just, one good prompt away from understanding what's actually going on in the industry, right? So same thing, right? If, as part of what used to be, consultative selling in the way it's been done for the last 20 years, bringing to the table industry trends, insights about what other companies in comparable situations are doing. That used to be quite interesting. Now I can use a ChatGPT to get some of that information very quickly. So we're now ending up in a situation where your clients are quite likely going to be just as informed, right? If not more than you, and not just about your product, but also what's happening in industry, what's happening in other parts of the world, right? And so it begs the question.
Yeah, but and just to
would actually make.
So just to reinforce that point, because number one, I don't think that there is parity between sellers in terms of how they show their expertise. There's many sellers out there, unfortunately, who are still very product centric, and so we still have to climb that mountain. But a lot of us are already very client centric, value, selling. And very much demonstrating an incredible insight into what our clients' pain points and results that they're trying to achieve. But let's just assume for a moment that we do have that parity across most sellers, and that there is expertise being demonstrated. And expertise, like you say, knowledge is a commodity now, right? Or can become a commodity. And
Or
so
will become a commodity very, very, very soon. Yeah.
very soon. I'm with you. I agree. So what levers,
Hmm.
right, specifically can sellers push and pull and develop within themselves and their profile to
Yeah.
really stand out and stay ahead and ensure that they're delivering something that clients cannot find on,
Yeah.
ChatGPT or website searches?
Yeah. So I can see a couple of interesting things that are starting to manifest and appear. One of them is if you understand how ChatGPT works and some of those large language models operate, which is, quantitative analysis of, massive amounts of data, right? And they are applying a statistical, analysis to what's the most likely next term in that sentence, right? The ocean is ... In most circumstances, the answer would be blue, right? But
Mhm.
it could be choppy, it could be rough, it could be beautiful, but in most circumstances, the ocean is blue, right?
Mm, mm,
So this will be driving, I think, a lot of people to, I guess, the most common denominator, the most common answer, right? A great application of the Pareto principle, hardly any effort, and you get 80% of the answer right
mm.
in a few clicks. But that's a generic. It's generic, right? It's not client specific. It's not context specific. It's not, strategic agenda specific. And so I think one of the areas in which a lot of sales professionals are going to have to grow and develop is in forming opinions, right? I suspect client will start to be very appealed by what's your take, right? What's your take on this? Right? How do you look at this? And I've been saying this for years now that, if you look back, you're always much smarter in hindsight, right? But if I look back, this is what a lot of clients have been coming for. What's your take on this, Julian? Because, you're obsessed with trust, you're obsessed with sales transformation. So what's your take? So I think developing your take and making that robust and, and interesting and engaging is going to be an aspect. I think the other one is to help your client and prospect think through their issues, right? So your client, your prospect, you have access to the generic information, the generic knowledge, but let's sit down together and, let me see if I can try to help you think through, how to apply those generic principles to your very specific context. Because it's not because it's going to work for most that it's got chances to be working for you specifically,
I love that.
right?
I love that, and that's easier said than done, right? Because I kind of just wanted to reiterate what you said there, to anybody listening, because it's very easy for that to kind of blow away very quickly, but there's so much behind that sentence. Helping your customer to think through their reality, their challenges, where they want to be, what opportunities could they be missing on that they shouldn't be missing on.
Yeah.
And that requires, so I think there's two angles here. One is the angle of how do you prepare yourself to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I love to talk with you about is how that task encompasses not just hard skills but soft skills.
Yep.
Right? And then so there's the you developing in yourself the ability to do that, but then there's also, this is not a one man one woman show. The company has to itself at corporate level really embrace this type of approach where whatever investments in technology they're bringing in, they are very aware that they in itself are not going to fix any of the challenges that they have around the productivity and the performance of their sales team. They have to align that investment in technology with investment on improving not just their sellers profile, but their whole entire approach of the commercial engine, which encompasses not just sales, but marketing and customer support. And I'm also not even talking about product development. So, so what you are saying is I find it fundamentally, key to how we need to be progressing in order to really stand out from the machines, right? Did you
Absolutely.
have any other words around the, or thoughts around kind of the development of the soft skills side of this? Because,
Yeah.
right, you
Yeah, look, very happy. Look, and
in,
I'm going to try and be fairly short here because we could be all day on this. I'll just need to get a refill for my cup, and then we can keep rolling. So I think aspect number one is accepting that, product information, understanding the hard skills, the science, the process of sales is an imperative. Right. So I'm by no way suggesting that this is trivial, right? It is necessary, but it's also no longer sufficient. Right. You can be as brilliant as you want at closing or handling objections or, describing the value proposition or the specific features and advantages of your product. Right. Good luck. Good luck, making a dent in the world of your clients. So that's point number one. The interesting aspect to this is that if you consider how much, executives, business leaders, tech experts, founders of startups, or many sales professionals have been leveraging their knowledge as a source of self-confidence for years, we actually are inviting them to step into an entirely different world in which we're saying, look, it's great for you to be an expert, but not good enough anymore. Right? And so, you telling people what they should be doing is no longer what we need. You being able to explain, brilliantly and convincingly how our solution is fantastically, wired technologically no longer, cuts it. Right. So there's a great deal of helping individuals, and this is happening at an individual level first, helping individuals step into this very uncomfortable space where they need to find ways of getting confidence from things other than knowledge, because we're just about to tell them, look, your knowledge is good, right? But for now, can you leave that off the table? Because we want the conversation to be about the client. And so what this is calling for is, skills and behaviors that for a long time we've been very, very bad at developing in people. Things like curiosity. I grew up in France, and we used to say curiosity is such a wrong behavior to have. It's one of the most important skills in sales today.
I agree. Oh my gosh, I agree. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's how much rewiring we're going to have to do. A second one is going to be about questioning skills. Right. And I'm not talking about just the sort of fact gathering, questioning skills that most people go through when you go through fundamental sales trainings, right? The good old avoid closed questions and try to have open-ended question. Yeah, sure, but we're going to have to really up the ante here, because it's not going to be enough. Because one open question, just a random open question, won't be enough to make you, as my client or prospect, Elga, think. I'm going to have to make you think. I'm going to have to find ways of making you clarify in your mind what is important, understand what what you don't know, and figure out what might be the way forward for you, whether it involves my solution, my offering, or not, because that's where the value is. Right. And maybe one quick comment and the right answer to the wrong question. Yeah, absolutely. So, and I think one last aspect, I guess, more collectively, once we've addressed some of those identity and new skills required, is an understanding of the fact that this is actually calling for a fairly deep change in culture. Right? Because, for the last 12 years, I've been really banging on about, building trust with clients. And if there's one thing I've taken away from the last 12 years is it's almost impossible to build trust with clients and prospects externally if you don't have trust internally back in your own organization.
Wow, you're getting a lot of thumbs up for that.
Yeah.
That is difficult, right?
So, and the same thing here, right? We can't say, look, you're gonna have to be curious and to try and put in place behavior that is making your prospects and clients think if, you know, back in your own organization, it's a very directive, top-down dynamics where you're not empowered, you know, just manage your quota, just manage your pipeline, just, you know, just do as you're told back in the office, and then go out there, be curious, be open. You know, it's not aligned, and it's going to cause a lot of frictions at conscious and subconscious levels.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, people, valuepreneurs out there, do you see what I mean? Do you see what I mean? Value time with Julia. It's unbelievable. I tell you what, can I throw a little challenge at you? Because that's
Let me get some more coffee. Let me get coffee while you're throwing the challenge at me.
So here's the challenge, okay?
Yep.
Let's try and just apply what you just said. We've got 3 minutes to a real scenario, you know, whether it be a prospecting or discovery stages. You know, how could we apply this? Give us a bit of a sample.
Okay, so I might just start with a couple of principles for everybody, and then we'll put in practice. Principle number 1, you have to start asking questions like most people are not used to asking. So it requires a bit of preparation. So, you know, word of warning, not really prepare this. So let's see how we go. I'm just, you know, a bit more practiced at this than most. So let's see how I manage. Aspect number 2 is you have to start asking questions to which you cannot predict the answer. If you're asking questions to which you could be predicting the answer, you're not heading in the right direction.
Is it you cannot predict the answer, or the customer?
No, you as a sales professional, if you can almost guess where this is going to go, you're heading in the wrong direction. So, and as people might see, let's see how long we go with this. These are questions that are making people think, and they start to feel a lot more intimate very quickly. So another aspect to this, and you know, we're taking shortcuts here, is to make people comfortable first, right? So the whole building rapport, building, you know, some degree of intimacy with your prospect is important before you can start really challenging them significantly, because otherwise they're going to, you know, close, and you know, it's just too fast, too early, you know? Not on the first date kind of thing.
Yes.
All right. So, but let's try this. So let's keep it very practical. So we're having now. So you're my prospect, or you're just Elga, right? And we're just having a conversation about the impact on AI and sales. Okay. Right? That way, it's just in context. You don't have to, you know, just be yourself.
Okay.
And the first question would be like this. So, Elga, based on everything that you seem to understand, or you know, you're mastering about the impact of AI in sales, and some of the, I guess, areas that are a bit more obscure or source of doubt, what do you hope that this conversation today might be able to achieve?
So I suppose one of the things that worries me a bit is how I would like to use AI to help me to better predict how my customers are going to act or react. And I fear that that's just not going to be, these artificial tools are just not going to be good enough.
Okay,
really,
so that's one. What else? What else is on your mind? What do you know? What are you less clear about?
Well, how it's going to impact productivity. So how do I really effectively make my sellers more productive? And I've got to give you here a little 1 minute warning, because we're basically running out of time. So
yep, all good. So and you know, so we would take the time to keep rolling with this, right?
Yes.
And then, you know, I could leverage what seems to be clear. So what is most important is to meet you where you are, right? That's the 1 minute warning, isn't it? Right? Meet you where you are, right? So that 1, I don't tell you things you already know, and 2, we can build on what you don't know, right? Okay. And then, you know, we could be sharing insights and exploring some of these things, but with this one simple question and being very curious about the answer. So not letting you get away with, okay, so the first thing that comes to mind is this, right? Going, okay, so what else, right? So what else, right? So just keep rolling with this. We're now creating a context in which you can start, you know, working with you on where you're at. Okay?
So here's what I really like about this approach is that the question in itself shows and demonstrates credibility, that you know what you're talking about. So you're not starting off the premise of saying, oh, Mr. Customer, what keeps you up at night? You know, the beginning of the premise is, I already know some of the things that are going on with AI and how they're relevant to you, Mr. Person that I'm speaking to very specifically.
Yep.
And so in the question, you build in the actual question that level of credibility, knowledge, understanding that really then generates the rapport and encourages the customer to want to answer and share and be a little bit more transparent.
Yep.
Am I reading this correctly?
Yes, and I'll go one step beyond, which is what is interesting is you're reading this as authority and knowledge and expertise.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
The pathway here is, if I can be so open and leaving you the full control about where the conversation goes, and if you can tell me where we go next in the conversation, what you are deducing here is that I'm willing to go in any direction because indeed I master the topic.
Yeah.
So what's interesting is, but this is your assumption. You know, you don't know whether I know things or not.
Yes.
It just seems to be implying. So you can also apply that to any topics. And I go back to the curiosity point. It means that you have to prepare yourself to have conversation about just about anything. And if you don't know, saying, wow, that's such a cool aspect. I probably should know the answer to this. I probably should have looked at that, but I haven't yet, dear prospect and clients. So, you know, I'll do some research and maybe we can resume the conversation later.
So here's what I must ask our viewers, anyone here today and visiting us anytime you like, connect with Julien Le Petit. Please, I have been your host, Helga Saraiva Stewart. It's just incredible to have these conversations. Julien, what are you reading at the moment? What books do you recommend that we all kind of pick up?
Okay. Right now, I'm going through for the third time. I'm going through *Sapiens* from Professor Harari.
Ooh,
in the context of this AI revolution, because it's not the first revolution. So that's one. You know, *Sapiens* by Professor Harari is actually on my iPad right there.
I love it. Julien, I'll catch you later. Thank you so much. I know you're busy at Menos, you know, conquering the world. Thank you so much for being with us. We'll catch you soon, Valuepreneurs. Stay with us. Come back, join us again. Thank you again. Cheerio for now.
Talk to you next time.